Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a dedicated plant chore day. Not only do I have a bunch of plants that I need to water, but I'm also going to be switching out the grow light in my IKEA Rudsta greenhouse cabinet. Plus it's looking absolutely filthy, so I have to clean that out as well. Plus I'll be providing some updates on some random plants kind of throughout the video. This is the Alocasia Jacqueline that I recently switched over to Pond. So I have a bunch of other plants that I want to show you guys as well. So I have my wrinkly plant t-shirt on, I have my camo shorts, and I have my comfy slippers on. So let's check it out. I think I'm going to start with my cabinet here first, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I have a bunch of other things that I got to get done. I've already watered this a couple days ago, but you can see I've removed the single light from the top here. I want to put a different system in so that not only the plants at the back can get more light, but the ones at the front here as well. And then I still use my barrina T10 vertical grow light in front of the cabinet here as well. Everything is just super grimy. I want to clean the glass here quick as well. That's pretty gross just from pretty much overspray when I water the plants. I just use a little misting wand, and sometimes it does spray the glass. So I want to clean that up so everything looks really good, and then I'll move on to watering and yeah, just going through the rest of the plants here. I used to have an electrical outlet, one of those grommet styles, just in the bottom of the cabinet, but I actually switched it out just to provide a little bit more room in the back of the cabinet. So right now it's just a little plastic grommet. I know some people had some concerns about an electrical socket being in a fairly high humidity cabinet, and honestly I really didn't have any issues. So here's my little humidifier as well, and now I can access the back part here. Look at this beauty. What an absolutely beautiful anthurium. I think this is the Raven something. I'm just going to put that right here for now. I got them on these little magnetic clips. I love these pots in the cabinet. Now I can get to the glass a little bit better, and you can see it's disgusting. So I'm just using a little bit of Windex, and I'm just going to be cleaning the glass here. And don't worry, this whole video is not going to be me cleaning. I want to get this tidied up here quick so I can get to installing the lights and then watering the rest of my plants. So that looks pretty clean. I even wiped off the back portion of the wall here. What I'll be installing are these new barrina. This is the T5 LED grow light. It's the 1 foot version, and this one is black, and then I did get a white version here as well. I haven't even opened these yet. Looking fresh. Here are the 4 LED bars. So it comes with obviously your cords and then some accessories. I'm not too sure what these are, but as far as I know, this light should just, like, I'm pretty sure this is a magnet on the back, and it just snaps on like that. So yeah, perfect. Super easy. There's no figuring out how to attach it or anything like that. It just literally snaps on like that. So I ran the first cord through the little grommet. I plugged it into my power bar timer. This one, it has a side that is timed, and then it has a side that is always on, and I have my fan, this little fan running, and my humidifier, I always have it on. So here's the first bar, and then you connect the other bars through these little ports here. They have like a little extension piece. So you just connect them, and then I'll have to tidy up the cords later, but let's check it out. Okay, this is a little tricky with one hand, but I'm going to put this light right at the back here, and again, it just clips into place like that. So now these plants at the top here, like this little anthurium chunk, it's going to be receiving brighter light. It was pretty much not receiving anything because the other grow light was just right in the middle here. It didn't extend out to the sides of the cabinet here. So yeah, I'm really happy that now these top ones will be getting much brighter light. So here's the end of the cord, and then you just clip it in like so. And then it just snaps into place. It's looking so much better already. And then the same with the last one here. Again, you just take the cord and then connect the pieces. There we go. Installation complete. And now when standing back, you can just see how much more light the top of the cabinet is receiving. And like I said, I'm still going to be using the T10 vertical grow light, again from Barrina, to get light to the bottom of the plants. Perfect. This is absolutely perfect. I just turned off the top 2 lights here. So I got everything zip tied and nicely or neatly coiled up. You can see at the back there as well. And then this one is just kind of tucked up at the top here. So I absolutely love these lights. And yeah, it's absolutely perfect. So these are the 1 foot bright white black bar lights. I know they do have a 2 foot version as well. They didn't have it in stock when I ordered. So I thought maybe I'd try these out, as well as, let's check out, these are the white ones. So pretty much identical. Let's see, let's try this out. Are these ones magnetic? Okay, so the white ones aren't, or at least this one isn't. And it does come with any of the sticky stuff, I'm not sure. It comes with some clips, I guess. I did find these kind of double-sided sticky adhesive foam, I guess you can call it. So you basically just place it on the back of the light and it just sticks to whatever surface that you want it to. I do have a white plant shelf upstairs, which I'll be using these on like the bottom shelf. I don't have a grow light on there, so I might add a couple of these onto that shelf. So that's what these lights are for, but I'm super, super happy with the black ones here. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty much the extent of the cabinet clean. Everything is looking nice and clean. Look at these windows. Super clean. Now I just got to put everything back and then we'll move on to the next chore of the day. And here's my little humidifier, which I use for the cabinet. I got this off Amazon. I think it was for like 12 bucks, 11 bucks or something like that. So little USB port. It's got a funky little fancy light. When you push it once, it provides a consistent stream of humidity. And then if you push it again, it does kind of intermittent. So it'll flow for a little bit, it'll cut off, and then it'll go start going in. This is the setting that I have mine on, and it's right underneath the fan there as well, just so it kind of circulates the humidity as well as provides airflow to the cabinet. Okay, now for a couple of these plants. This one, it's feeling a little dry. It's got this yellow leaf, so I'm gonna put it in my little Tupperware there. I'm gonna take my little pruning shears, snip off that yellow leaf, and then I do have my little spray bottle here. It's just a, it's got a pH down solution mixed into just tap water. I do have a little filter on there as well, and it does filter out any contaminants, which that reminds me I probably have to switch out the filter. So, and I just water in my little Tupperware container like this until it comes out the bottom of the pot, like so. I should probably clean out these saucers as well, but I have much more important things to do today. I have many plants to water, so I'll let that kind of drip down. And this one I have at the very back of the cabinet, so I push it back like that. This one has some water stains on it, but okay. Thank you. Look at that. It's actually a beautiful leaf. I have a couple of these alocasias. This is the bat wing. I do have it in pon. It's in basically a 2-cup system. The cup where the plant is potted in, I did cut out some little holes on the bottom, and then I use the outer pot as kind of like a cache pot, and then I just add water basically until it reaches like maybe halfway up the cup. This one has a little yellow leaf, which I'm going to snip off. And it's got a new leaf coming in as well right here. This is such a cool looking alocasia just because of how prominent these lobes are. Like, I love this one here. So you can see the roots are looking pretty healthy. I've pretty much switched over all of my alocasias to pon, and I'm really happy that I did. And I'll show you that Jacqueline here again in a little bit. I'm not too sure what the name of this one is. I can't remember. Green Shield or something. I'm not too sure. Yeah, and this is another one that just really struggled in soil. So yeah, I switched it over to pon. You can see the water level for this one is okay, but it's got this little yellow stem, which I'm gonna take off here. Just gonna try and peel it off without pulling out the stem. And again, I'll just discard of this in the compost, but this is a beautiful leaf. And it's been literally growing at the back of my cabinet here. I'll show you, like at the very back, like that. This little one goes at the top right there. I just took it out so I could access the grow lights. This leaf is a little bit messed up. A lot of times it can be from either a watering or humidity issue, but it can also be a sign of pests. Thrips can cause damaged or deformed leaves as they unfurl or as they continue to size up. This is something that you might see with thrip damage. I'm not seeing any other signs of pests on it, so I'm thinking it was probably a watering or humidity issue, like if I forget to fill up my humidifier or if I let this one get just a little bit too dry. But look at the roots on this one here, just chunky. Has a little yellowing leaf. I just like to keep things nice and tidy. Cut that off, and again, this one was on its way out anyway, so it's going to be going right in the compost. I have to show you guys this plant. It sits right back there on the top shelf. Look at the newest leaf. It's just shimmering red. This one is the Ace of Spades and Magnificum cross. This leaf right here, this one definitely had thrips on it. You can see there's just a little bit of streaking. I just put the plant down here so I can show you, but right around this area right here, there's some streaking. Just looks like kind of little silvery lines. I know this one had thrips because I actually found a thrip on it and I squished it and killed it, but I can't get over this newest leaf. Absolutely stunning, just vibrant red. But yeah, if you see any sort of like streaking patterns, little silvery lines on an anthurium leaf, check the front as well as the back side. You might have a thrip issue, so you'll most likely see damage on the leaf before you ever see the pest. There's another yellowing leaf right here. I like to cut them off. Like, I know people say don't cut them off because it's reabsorbing moisture or nutrients and that sort of thing. I don't care. I just like to get rid of any unsightly leaves just so everything looks healthy. But what an absolutely beautiful leaf. Here's another example. This one is the Zara Michelle crossed with the Zara Michelle. Here's a good example of a deformed leaf, and it actually looks like maybe spider mites got to this one. You can see some little speckling. This is what you would see if you have like a damaged leaf from a pest issue. So I didn't see any pests on this, and I've sprayed it down with an insecticidal soap. I might actually do it again, but I'm not really seeing any pests on it. So yeah, this is the newest leaf. I find that thrips like the newest or freshest leaf. I don't know if the juices in it are just much sweeter or what the deal is, but I always find them on new leaves. So if you see damage like this, then definitely you have either a spider mite or thrip issue. This one is the Pap and King of Spades cross. Just a little chunk, but you can see there's a new growth point, 2 new growth points from the side. So I'm just going to give this one some water. The pot is pretty light, so I'm just going to spray in some water. So you can see how much overspray there is. Like, it's just, yeah. Anytime I water in the cabinets and stuff, it just gets drenched because there's so much overspray. So we'll let that kind of drip out the bottom. This one here is just the regular crystallinum, I believe. And yeah, it has a little bit of a deformed section right there. Once you find thrips on a plant and you can identify the damage, then it's actually pretty easy to spot them or the damage itself and then treat the plant. Now, I just wanted to show this one just because the veins on this plant, they are super glittery. They are just shimmering in the lights. What an absolutely beautiful plant. I actually struggled with this one, even though it's obviously a common and fairly easy one. It's done really well in my cabinet so far, but I know a lot of people have these plants in just regular house humidity. My problem is I have most of my plants in terracotta, and terracotta is not the greatest if you're an underwater like myself. It's not because like I forget to water, it's just I have like way too many plants to water, so by the time I get to the plant, it's already like pretty dry. Okay, completely done with the cabinet, and I just want to show this. This is the T10 grow light from Barrina. And I just place it right in front of the cabinet, again, just so these plants on the bottom can get light. But what I realized with the tripod is you can actually, you can place it flat so it has a nice wide stance. There's a little, I guess, screw at the bottom. You just tighten it up, and that way it doesn't take up as much floor space as kind of the wide stance. And they do have another version with just the round little saucer thing, the round little plate. Same thing. This one's awesome. I absolutely love it. So here's my Monstera that's been growing in water. I just put out a video about this one a couple days ago. It's still doing good. I found a little cash pot thing for the glass jar, so everything's looking really good on this one. The new leaf area, starting to get a little brown spot. It still looks green at the top here, so I don't know if the newest leaf is going to come out as a normal leaf or damaged just from the repotting process. I did have to break a bunch of roots with this plant, so hopefully it doesn't go into too much shock. But now I'm going to go over to these plants here, and these ones are going to be going over to the bathroom here under the shower. I'm going to spray them off as they need a good thorough watering. So I just brought, this is the Golden Dragon, I believe. I just brought it over to my shower, and I'm fortunate enough to have a garden hose in my basement. I just run it on this super long garden hose from the laundry room. It is a tap that is not attached to our water softener. And not only do I saturate the moss and let it kind of drain down into the pot, but I also like to clean the leaves off. This not only helps with photosynthesis, removing all the dust and buildup and all that kind of stuff, but it also is beneficial with pest management as well. It'll blast off any spider mites, thrips, that sort of thing. So I'll do the front of the plant as well as the back side, just making sure the leaves are clean. I know a lot of people will place a little water bottle at the top of their moss pole and then invert it, and that way all the water will kind of slowly drain down through the moss, saturating the plant. But what I like to do is, if I don't use the garden hose to saturate the moss, I'll just place it right up here, let it drip down into the pot, and the pot is right over top of the shower drain, so I'll just kind of let that drain down. But if I don't use the shower hose itself, then I like to use either my fertilizer mixture in the spray bottle mixed up with water, or just the water and pH down to water the plant. So I'll just place it on the moss, and same thing, I'll just let it kind of drip down into the moss and then straight down into the pot. I'll make sure that the moss is saturated before I move on to the next plant, but you can see the soil is already quite damp. So this is pretty much how I water my plants on moss poles. So I just rotated the plant around. I'm just going to spray the back side of the leaves off, like so. And you can see all the roots in the moss pole. They're actually kind of reaching upwards instead of growing down in some areas. And then I just like to make sure the soil is thoroughly saturated like that. So everything looks nice and clean. All the pesky critters, if there was any, are just blasted off. I just brought this Splendid over as well, gave it a good spray as well as a watering. Now this method, might not be for everyone. I'm not saying this is the greatest method ever. This is just what works for me. This way it's just kind of quick and easy, and I can move on to the rest of the plants because I got to do all of these today. They all need water. And what I generally end up doing is I'll shake off the leaves in the shower, but I do get a little bit of droppage down there, so I'll just bring a towel and kind of two birds, one stone kind of thing. I'll clean the floors here as well, so I'll wipe them down. Yeah, so that's just kind of the method that works for me. I know this is the lazy way of cleaning the floors, but it works. Now, you might be asking yourself as well, with all of these planks and poles and stuff, do plants ever fall over? And absolutely they do. Specifically, the Golden Dragon. This thing is super top heavy. Anytime that I, bump it while we're on the couch here, this thing comes flying down, and it generally takes the Splendid with it, and then it just falls into this area right here. So yeah, so that's that. They do fall over. And of course, I have to provide an update with the Pothos Race Pothos. Yeah, it is doing fantastic. Well, besides this, another leaf fallen off. I did repot it in a larger pot, and look what is back in the lineup, the IV bag. I did place the IV bag back on the plank, and I did add an extension piece. So obviously you can see there's a little cutout there as well. What the plan is to provide like a little box of sphagnum moss basically on the back, so that when the plant grows up the plank, it'll grow into the moss, it'll root in there, and then once it outgrows the top of the plank way up there, then I can simply remove this plank, well, chop it, remove the plank with the plant attached to it, and then I can place it back in the pot. That way it can continue to get larger leaves. Now this one, it did kind of size down a little bit, like in the video. I'm not too sure why, but at least the IV bag flow rate is just flowing. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the update. It really hasn't done anything since the video, but I have added the IV bag back as well as the plank extension. So as you can see, it's trickling down the plank and into the pot, hopefully here. So as the water comes down, ooh, might be flowing off the side here, off this root, but I'll give it some water here as well. And then with a lot of these smaller ones, like the ones that have just one moss pull extension, I'll just bring my spray bottle around and just soak it from the top down. But I'm gonna be pulling a few of these out, like this alocasia right here, just because it's got some yellowing leaves. I'm gonna check this one for pests as well, and I'll probably give this one some water. Okay, so I brought two of my alocasias over. Like I said before, I like to just cut these leaves off, but with alocasias, most times you can just peel it off, but right here, I don't know if you can see it, it's not coming off as easily as I want, and I don't want to damage the newest leaf. So for right now, I'm just going to cut this off with my pruning shears, and eventually this portion that's still attached to the stem will just dry up, and you can just pluck it off like that. So this one, it's pretty dry, and it's also like super root bound in there. So I'm definitely going to have to repot this sooner than later. And I always like to check the undersides of the leaves, making sure there are no signs of pest damage. This is a little suspicious right here, this yellowing area. This is pretty consistent with like spider mite damage. So I'm actually going to take this one over to the shower there to spray off as well. This one, again, it's got a dead leaf here. That's totally normal. And you can see the stem is quite thick here. This one can easily just be torn off like that. Just a nice clean removal. And I can throw this in the compost. This one's got some beautiful leaves as well. What I generally do is take all of the alocasias over to my shower, spray them off, and then I give them a good thorough watering with a fertilizer and water mixture. These guys are pretty heavy feeders, so I pretty much fertilize with every watering. But yeah, for right now, I'm just going to soak it with the water and pH down solution in the little cup here. Then I'll take it over to the shower and just spray off the leaves. I have like so many plants to water here, it's not even funny. There. So we'll let that kind of drip out the bottom, and then I'm going to take these over and clean the leaves off, making sure there's no spider mites or thrips crawling around on these. Here is another beautiful pothos. This one is the Golden Hawaiian. It's got beautiful variegation. It's literally dripping right now just because I took it over to the shower to clean the leaves off as well as give it a good soaking. This one I did have growing on a wood plank before, but as you can see, it is now on a moss pole. So I want to grow this as large as I can and hopefully get those fenestrated leaves like Tech Plant did during the Great Pothos Race. If you haven't seen that video series, go check out Tech Plant's channel as well as the Pothos Race videos on mine. So yeah, beautiful plant. I absolutely love pothos, and I can't wait, or hopefully I can get those fenestrated leaves. Here's another one of my pothos on a plank. This is the Marble Queen. beautiful variegation. I'll leave a link to this video up in the top corner here somewhere. This is my plank system. So it has this little cutout here, so when I add an extension piece on top of this plank, then I place a little cup on the back. I guess I used a little plastic bottle last time, and filled with moss or soil, and that way the roots can, as the plant grows up the plank, the roots can grow into the moss, and then I can take the top cutting and place it in the pot, in its own separate pot, and that's what I did with this one down here. So right back here, there's a little cluster of moss. So this was chopped and propped from another plank, I guess, and I placed it in this pot. So this is kind of the update with this plant. It's getting a new leaf here as well, but these leaves are beautiful and they're starting to size up again. So I did have some troubleshooting with the plank system and doing the chop and prop. So I have made this little propagation window and it seems to be working well. So there'll be more versions coming down the road and obviously more updates with these beautiful pothos plants. I just have a couple things left that I want to include in this video, and like I said at the start, I wanted to talk about the Alocasia Jacqueline. I've had this plant now for probably, I would say, about a year and a half, and it is one that would do really well for a short period of time and then would go dormant. It would lose its leaves and it would just go dormant like this little stump right here. Now I contribute that to me in my watering issues. It was in soil and I would let it get too dry, and whenever I watered it, it would perk out for a little bit and then the roots would turn to mush. So I kind of struggled with it in an aeroid mix. I decided to try Pon, and it's been in here for probably a few weeks. It's doing wonderful. It's doing absolutely wonderful. Now I can't let the pond get super dry as well, because then I'm going to run into the same issue of the roots basically drying up. They're very fine roots, and whenever you give it water, then it's going to shrivel up again. I find this pond is a little bit easier. Okay, so there's some nice roots popping out the bottom, but the reservoir is dry. So I'm going to take this over to the shower as well and give it a good spray, or give it a good soaking, clean off the leaves, making sure there's no pests on it. It's not completely dry at the top here, getting a new leaf emerging. This one, as long as the chunk or the stem is hard and firm, then it is still alive. If it's mushy, it's pretty much rotten. So for this one right here, I'm actually just going to use my little spray bottle, my pump action spray bottle. And then I'm just going to completely saturate all of the pond. Again, there's going to be a little bit of overspray, but I can just stick the wand right in the pond, and that prevents all the water from spraying everywhere. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on the little reservoir gauge. I like to keep it kind of about half, and that way some of the pond can wick up moisture as needed. And a lot of times those roots will grow down into the very bottom of the pot like this one did, in search of that moisture. So it establishes a nice root system. The pond is obviously very airy, so it's going to provide nice airflow to the roots, which that's exactly what you want. Oh, my gauge it just went popping. It popped right up. So I'm a little bit more than what I would like. The nice thing about these is it has these inserts you can remove. Oh yeah, look at that root. Super healthy. I can empty out some of this water. Now I always water from the top down, just because you don't want to just fill the reservoir and hopefully expect the pond to soak it up. I really haven't had too much experience with pond yet to confirm that's what it does. So I like to saturate the top of the pond. That way all of the pond is saturated, or moistened, dampened, whatever word you like to use. And then you can let it drip down into the reservoir and then adjust it as needed. The last thing that I wanted to get done today for my projects was this tilting Mandula pothos. Now, it's not really set up all that great. When I did initially place it on the moss pole, it was on the small version of the thickly grow pole, and I wanted to transition it to the medium So it's a little bit thicker, just because I didn't have any more of these small moss poles, and I didn't want to place an order just for 1 or 2 poles. And ultimately, they do really well on these medium ones, just because there's more moss for the roots to grow into, for moisture and nutrients and all that kind of thing. So my goal was to do a chop and prop. So I want to take the top moss pole and place it in a separate pot. I'm not really seeing like a ton of roots in like the top portion. I think I'm going to chop it anyways, just to see what happens, just because I hate how this thing is just so low, like it's literally gonna fall over. So I want to take it out. I feel some resistance on the moss pole, so it's definitely rooted in here. It might take a little while for it to establish a root system to sustain new growth. So I'm not going to be expecting any, explosion of massive leaves for probably a few months, just while it builds up a root system. Okay, so right here, this is where the moss pole connects to the smaller one. I think I'm going to cut right down here. So something like that. Let's see if I can remove it. Okay, so not really rooted in the moss pole lower down. So I'm going to soak this pole, and then I'll place it in the pot like this, just so it sits in its own new pot. So now I have 2. I can kind of correct this one as well. Just pack it down a little bit more so it's not flopping over. And it will get new growth points from the closest nodes. So it's probably going to branch out in a couple places. So I'm actually going to leave this one in the pot, see if I can get some new growth points here, and I'll have 2 separate plants now, and hopefully this one gets multiple growth points. But look at these leaves. Gorgeous. What a beautiful plant. And same with this one too. It's got some beautiful variegation on the newer leaves. I just took the little plant Velcro off the moss pole here. You can see it's staying on, and I gave it a good thorough watering. What I will do is I'm going to chop this lower leaf off, just because when you place it in the pot, I don't want it to be below the soil line. Same with this other one. I might actually just chop this one off too, something like that. I'll place the pole right at the bottom, and then that way it'll be situated or seated properly in the pot like that. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of aeroid mix into the bottom of the moss pole here as well, if I can get it. Just going to tip that upside down, fill in a little bit of, that's not really working. So I'm just going to put a bit of soil in the bottom of the pot here. And then I'll just add the moss pole right on top. Push it forward, make sure it's center, and then I can just load in the soil. And then I'll show my little propagation takeout container. I have some alocasia jacquelines in there. What else do I have? A couple anthuriums, but everything is doing really well in the, it's a little perlite prop container, I guess, just from a Chinese takeout dish. Okay, it's cleaned up. I sprayed off the leaves, making sure that they're nice and clean. Soaked the soil, the moss pole is wet. Here's the mother plant. I'm gonna let this one grow and hopefully get some offshoots there. Now, let's check out the little prop box. So everything is just busting out of here. I have a bunch of alocasia jacqueline corms. This one might be the, honestly I don't even know. Just the dragon scale maybe? I'm not too sure, kind of looks like it. But yeah, this is a bunch of tiny little corms. I can't even get them out, but they sprout from the top. They get a bunch of little roots there. Back here I do have, this is an anthurium, I believe. Here's another anthurium. So I just place it in the, ooh, it's got a new leaf. So the thing about these is when you have like a section of the stem for the anthurium, most times you won't get roots from here. It'll sprout a growth point like it has right here. It'll push out a new leaf, and then as the stem continues to grow, you'll get roots kind of popping out from the new growth point right there. So that is super cool. Oh, this one has a leaf too. I can't remember what this one is. It might be the Queramalense. Like this gets to be a huge, huge plant. and here's another growth point. So it's got 2 growth points off of this one stem popping through. No real roots yet, but eventually it'll come off the this portion, the new growth point. So that's super cool. I like to place it with like the portion that was connected to the plant. I like to put that right in the perlite, kind of bottom down, because you'll get roots from the top, but clearly this one was on its side, so honestly it doesn't even matter how you place them in the perlite. Just stick it in, and it just loves the humidity. There's no standing water at the bottom of the pot. I basically just mist the entire container, and then I just put the lid back on. Obviously it's kind of outgrowing it now, but I'm just kind of looking around to see what else there is. So just a bunch of alocasias, got some anthuriums, a couple of different kinds of anthuriums in there. So yeah, perlite prop boxes just in a little Chinese takeout bowl is super, super successful. Okay, I don't want to break any of those, but okay. And I just have it under or near a grow light as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, a little update with some plants, my prop boxes. Got the IKEA cabinet up and running again, looking fantastic. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks for watching all my videos. Appreciate the support. We are almost at 100,000 subscribers, which is crazy. Thanks for watching. Bye.